I discovered my wife's affair and my mother's betrayal through a secret voice. Note: their plot against me shattered everything I believed in family. My wife's infidelity and my mom's betrayal unfolded when a voice note revealed their secret plot, and I discovered the true depth of their deceit. I, a 34-year-old male, live with my wife, 35, and our son. Our son is from my wife's previous marriage. She's a divorcee. We've been married for 6 years, and our son is 10 years old. I'm very close to him, as his biological father was absent throughout these years. I was against having children earlier, but spending time with him completely altered my ideas about family life. Since I was very happy with our son, we decided not to have another child together. My wife and I had a blissful marriage. At least, that's what I used to think until recently. Some recent developments in our marriage and family life have turned my life upside down. 2 years ago, I resigned from my job to set up my own business. People who have embarked on this adventure know how time and energy-consuming the early years of a business can be. I used to be cooped up in front of my laptop at times, 24/7. I think this is when my wife began to feel unsatisfied with our relationship, for which I can't blame her. Before that, we used to communicate a lot. Even though we couldn't afford expensive dates and lavish vacations, we would always find some time to sit on the living room couch and talk about our lives. I've recommended this exercise to many friends who were struggling in their marriages. It really helps to keep the marriage interesting. Apart from that, we had a pretty decent sex life as well. But as I got into building a good foundation for my business, I got completely invested in it. I didn't realize I was losing my family on the other end. I should give some information about my mother before I move forward. I lost my father 10 years ago. By then, I was already out of college and working. I was more attached to my dad than my mom since she was hardly present in our lives. She was always occupied with her group of people, always out and about. Moreover, she was a spendthrift. Dad always had arguments with her about their spending habits, but her habits changed over the years. When he died, she lost her steady source of income, but I had observed that, of late, Mom has tried to catch up with her lost years of glory. She's 55 now, but I see her meeting up with friends and hosting parties frequently. She lives close by and has keys to our house. 2 weeks ago, I was sitting in bed working, and my wife was showering. I could hear her phone blowing up with messages. Upon hearing this, my wife rushed from the shower to get the phone and took it to the shower with her. This was uncharacteristic of her, but I didn't think much about it. The next day, our son came home with his left hand plastered. He had a minor injury while playing soccer. At our house, we make sure not to blow anything up, so we cheered him up. My wife told me that she wanted to post a photo of our son on Facebook and asked me to take his picture, but I'd plugged in my phone for charging, so I asked her for her phone. She gave me her phone. That's when I noticed that she had a pin lock. This was also new because we both had no locks on our phones. This made me curious. I locked her phone again and gave it back to her to see what her pin was. I got her pin, and while I was taking photos, a message popped up on her WhatsApp. It was from a junior coworker whom she had introduced to me. The message read, "Your green dress tomorrow," followed by a winking emoji. She could see my facial expression changing, but I regained myself immediately and gave her the phone back. My heart was shattered. I could only think about the worst scenarios. I waited until night, and when I was sure she had fallen asleep, I took her phone. I checked WhatsApp but saw that she had deleted all the messages with him. Then I checked iMessages. I was shocked to see flirty texts, NSFW memes, and even naked pictures from 1.5 years ago. I could see how the tone of their conversation slowly changed in the iMessage texts. I did not know what to do. I took as many screenshots as possible and sent them to my phone, then cleared the screenshots from her gallery and our chat. I couldn't sleep that night. Almost every 10 minutes, I broke into a bout of silent sobs. I didn't know what to do anymore. Throughout that night, I was just thinking about my son. He had grown close to me and my mother. If I filed for divorce from my wife, I would also lose my son. I waited until morning to decide what had to be done. As soon as my wife left for work, I went to my mother's place and told her what I had seen. Surprisingly, she was not shocked at all. On the other hand, she started to blame me. She told me that my wife cheated on me because I was not putting enough effort into the marriage. I did not realize that she was guilt-tripping me. I wondered why my mother didn't understand the gravity of the situation. I wanted to ask her to imagine how she would have felt if Dad had cheated on her, but I didn't. After a while, my wife called me from work. She was livid, shouting at me for going through her phone. It all made me feel like I was the one cheating. I accused her of cheating and she accepted the accusation immediately. I was surprised. I didn't have much to tell her anymore, so I cut the call and sat down to think about what was happening. After I discovered that my wife was cheating on me, I went to my mother to inform her. She listened to it and blamed me for making my wife cheat. Immediately after this, my wife called me to shout at me. This means my mother might have informed my wife that I discovered the chat on her phone. But why was my mother siding with her instead of me? I was fuming with anger and despair. As a last measure, I decided to contact her affair partner. I found his profile on Facebook. From this, I recognized that he was married with 2 daughters. I found his wife's profile as well. The chances of my wife's affair partner knowing about their affair being caught were low. I just wanted to know why my mother was siding with them, so I drafted a long text message to the affair partner's wife. Before sending it, I took a screenshot of the chat screen and sent it to him. He replied immediately in panic. I asked him to keep the conversation between him and me confidential. He apologized profusely for whatever happened between him and my wife, but I knew he was not even the least bit sorry. So I asked him whether he knew my mother. He told me that a year ago, while I was not at home, my wife invited him to our place. My mother, who had access to our house, came inside to see them together in bed. I couldn't stop visualizing what he narrated. My whole body was trembling just thinking about it. But my mother was cunning. She promised my wife not to inform me about this if they both paid her a decent sum every month. My mother took a bribe to keep my wife's dirty secret. I lost trust in the people around me. For further proof, he sent me a voice note. It was a car recording of him, my wife, and my mother. My mother became the guardian of their secret affair. She made sure that I never came to know about this. In the call recording, my wife sounded paranoid. She was scared about me finding out about their affair, but my mother consoled her by saying that she could always file for divorce. Since I had legally adopted my son, my wife was scared whether I would win the custody battle, though the chances of it were low. I knew that this was just my wife panicking. My mother then revealed to her that she could fight in court that I was mentally unfit to take care of a child. I had attempted suicide while I was in high school. I had never had any mental health issues before or after that. I had led a pretty normal life. But I saw the evil side of my mom. She was ready to use this against me for money. The only option before me was divorce, but before the divorce, I decided to go no contact with my mom. When my son came back from school, I tried to communicate with him that things were not going well between his mother and me. I didn't want to traumatize him, but just wanted to keep him informed. I owned a house, so I packed all her luggage and left it at the front door. I wanted to keep our son with me, but she took him with her. Now the narrative she is making is that I left them stranded outside our home. She has informed my friends and my extended family, and my mother is supporting her side of the story. My friends have called me to say that I went a bit too far with leaving my son out in the cold. This was never my intention. Am I the asshole for kicking my wife out of my home after I learned that she had been cheating on me for the past 18 months? I'm still at my place. I have started divorce proceedings. I haven't met my son in weeks. Honestly, that's the part that hurts me the most. I got to know that my wife and her affair partner are continuing their affair. I saw them once together at my mother's house, but the affair partner was still with his wife. I honestly felt guilty about not informing his wife about this, so I sent her proof of her husband cheating. I attached a few screenshots as well. She hasn't replied to me, but my wife has been blowing up my phone, so now I know that his wife has seen it. My wife and her affair partner have been trying to harass me online. When I felt like things were going too far, I had an idea. My wife is her affair partner's senior in the workspace. Sexual relations between coworkers are definitely a big no in their company. I made a detailed call to their company's HR and stated how they were together while he was allotted to my wife's team. I don't think this would go down well for both of them professionally. I was most hurt by the actions of my mother. I had solid proof against her. She had a group of religious friends, largely bound together by the church. My mother was always conscious of appearing morally perfect in front of that group of friends. I decided to forward the call recording to the head of that group. I have no doubt about the repercussions. She will be ostracized. The weight of betrayal sits heavy in my chest, like a stone I can't dislodge no matter how hard I try to breathe it. It's been weeks since I uncovered my wife's infidelity and my mother's complicity, and yet the sting hasn't dulled. If anything, it's sharpened, cutting deeper each time I replay the events in my mind. The voice note, the one where my mother schemed with my wife and her affair partner, still echoes. In my head, a haunting reminder that the 2 people I trusted most were plotting against me. I feel like a fool, not just for missing the signs of my wife's affair, but for believing my mother could ever prioritize me over her own interests. The pain is raw, a jagged wound that throbs with every memory of what I thought my family was. I keep circling back to my son. He's 10 years old, with wide eyes that hold a trust I'm terrified I've broken. When I told him things weren't going well between his mother and me, I saw the confusion flicker across his face, the way his small shoulders tensed as he tried to process it. I wanted to shield him from this mess, to keep his world intact, but how could I, when his mother was already spinning lies to paint me as the villain? The image of him leaving with her, his backpack slung over one shoulder, is seared into my mind. I wanted to keep him with me, to protect him in the home I'd built. But she took him. And now I haven't seen him in weeks. The absence is a physical ache, like a part of me has been torn away. I lie awake at night, wondering if he thinks I abandoned him, if he believes the narrative his mother is weaving, that I left them stranded in the cold. The thought that he might see me as the bad guy is unbearable. My wife's betrayal cuts deep, but it's my mother's actions that have left me unmoored. I always knew she was distant, more caught up in her socialite facade than in being a parent. But I never imagined she'd stoop to extortion. She caught my wife in bed with another man, and instead of telling me, saw an opportunity for profit. She took their money to keep quiet, as if my pain was a commodity to be traded. The voice note revealed her true colors: cold, calculating, ready to weaponize. My high school suicide attempt to undermine me in a potential custody battle. I was 16 when I hit that low point, overwhelmed by pressures no one else saw. I got help, moved on, built a stable life. But she held on to that moment like a trump card, ready to play it for her own gain. The betrayal feels like a violation of something sacred, a shattering of the last vestiges of trust I had in her. I'm angry, furious even, but beneath that is a profound sadness. I mourn the family I thought I had. For 6 years I believed my wife and I were building something real, a partnership rooted in love and mutual respect. I poured everything into being a father to her son, loving him as my own, and I thought she saw that, valued it. But 1.5 years of her affair, hidden behind flirty texts and secret meetings, tell a different story. I keep asking myself where I went wrong. Was it the long hours I spent building my business, trying to secure a future for us? I know I wasn't perfect. I got lost in work, neglected our late night talks on the couch, but does that justify her turning to someone else? The rational part of me says no, but the doubt creeps in, whispering that maybe I drove her to it. My mother's blame only fueled that doubt. When I told her about the affair, her immediate response was to point the finger at me, as if my wife's choices were my fault. "You weren't putting enough effort into the marriage," she said, her voice dripping with judgment. It stung because I was already questioning myself, replaying every moment I chose work over time with my wife. But to hear it from her, the woman who was supposed to have my back, felt like a second betrayal. I wanted her to be outraged on my behalf, to feel the same hurt I did. But instead, she was complicit, profiting from my wife's infidelity. The realization that she tipped my wife off about my discovery, prompting that furious phone call, makes my blood boil. She chose money over her own son. I've gone no contact with my mother, and it feels like severing a limb. There's a part of me that still craves her approval. That little boy who wanted her to show up for him. But I can't keep chasing someone who sees me as a means to an end. Cutting her out was a necessity, a way to protect what's left of my sanity. But it doesn't erase the grief. I grieve for the mother I never had, the one who would have stood by me instead of scheming behind my back. I grieve for the family I thought I was building, now fractured beyond repair. The divorce proceedings are underway, and each step feels like a march toward freedom and a descent into loss. I'm fighting for my son, not just legally but emotionally. I want him to know I didn't abandon him, that I love him more than anything. But the distance between us, weeks without seeing his face, hearing his laugh, gnaws at me. I sent him a text the other day, just a simple "I miss you, buddy." But there was no reply. I don't know if his mother is keeping him from responding, or if he's angry with me. The uncertainty is torture. Exposing my wife's affair to her affair partner's wife, and their company's HR, wasn't just about justice. It was about reclaiming some control in a situation that left me powerless. Forwarding the voice note to my mother's church group was harder. I knew it would unravel her carefully curated image, ostracize her from the community she clings to. Part of me felt a twisted satisfaction, but mostly, I felt empty. It wasn't revenge, it was accountability, a way to ensure she faced consequences for her actions. But it doesn't fill the void she left. I'm trying to rebuild, to find a new rhythm in a life that feels foreign. I've thrown myself back into work, not out of obsession but as a lifeline, something to anchor me when everything else is adrift. I've started talking to a therapist, unpacking the layers of hurt and self-doubt. It's slow, painful work, but it's helping me see that I'm not defined by their betrayals. I'm more than the man they used, the father who lost his son. the son whose mother chose money over loyalty. I'm learning to forgive myself for not seeing the truth sooner, for believing in a family that didn't exist. Most of all, I'm holding on to hope that I can rebuild my bond with my son, that one day he'll understand why I had to walk away from his mother. Until then, I carry him in my heart, a beacon guiding me through the darkness of this betrayal. Story 2. My aunt and cousin issue. My aunt and my cousin, a 10-year-old male named Andy, live close by and are frequent visitors to our home. Andy and I are close. Since he was just a toddler, he would spend lots of time in our house, so it's not an exaggeration to call him my brother. The problem is that my aunt has zero awareness about what it takes to watch Andy. Despite how much I love him, she would drop by and leave him at our house, even if I tell her I'm studying and can't watch him. She would tell me it's better to have someone with him in the house than no company at all, and I don't need to watch over him as he can fix himself a sandwich or order something himself. He has her phone on him, so he can just watch something. She always just takes her purse and abandons him there, regardless of how I object. If Andy really stuck to the phone and didn't disturb me, that would be fine, but he doesn't, and he shouldn't. He's so young, he can't stay glued to a screen for 8 consecutive hours, and I don't blame him one bit for that. I complained to my mom multiple times about this, and she would shut me down too. So I came up with the idea that whenever my aunt came over, I would shut myself in my room and tell Mom to tell them I'm not in the house. That way, Mom doesn't have to get into a conflict with her sister, and I don't get inconvenienced. A win-win. Mom resisted at first, but was on board later. This time, though, when my aunt came over, I could hear yelling, as though an argument was going on. Then my aunt came knocking on my door while shouting that she knew I was in there, followed by my mom also telling me to just get out and that I caused her enough trouble. I walked out and there was a storm of berating, first from my mom and second from my aunt. I know my mom was berating me like that to appease my aunt, but it still hurt. I also lashed out at her, saying that she was sacrificing her own daughter for her sister. When Mom saw me like that, she apologized to my aunt and told her she'd deal with this, then walked her to the door. She went back and asked me what I expected by avoiding her for several weeks like this, and that she would start asking questions eventually. I was upset and refused to answer her anymore, and have been cooped up in my room since then, with no mood to attend classes either. Am I the asshole for acting like this? NTA, it's babysitting, and what is wrong with your mother that she doesn't tell her sister to take a hike? She would rather have her sister take advantage of you like an unpaid servant than stand up to her sister. You have schoolwork. Ask Mom if she would rather you put aside your studies to tend to a child who is your cousin. He's not your brother. I'm sorry it may feel that way, but he isn't. NTA, even though you see him as a brother, your aunt sees you as a free babysitter. Neither your mom nor your aunt is taking into consideration your feelings and needs and the fact that you're studying. By the sounds of it, this is horrifically frequent. More than once every 2 weeks, it sounds nearly daily. They're essentially dumping that child onto you to look after, while they can do whatever they want. Why can't your mom look after him most of the time, and you could chip in, say, an hour or so after studying in free time that isn't dedicated to anything else? Could his mom not get him into after-school daycare, or find any clubs that he's interested in joining around the time she does whatever she's doing? Both parents are using you to negate their responsibilities. Your mother's responsibility to you and your aunt's responsibility to the child. Story 3. The House Party Incident 1. A 20-year-old female, am currently studying in the UK. The term has just ended, and my friend had a house party last night. She's recently gotten together with a guy, Adrian, and this would be the very first time our friend group would be meeting him. The party was loud, and we all got drunk pretty quickly. I didn't have much time to speak to Adrian besides the introduction. Oh, and he also brought his friend with him. I knew Adrian was from Spain, but since we haven't really talked, I didn't have much of a chance to ever make it known that I speak Spanish. My school had a very extensive foreign language program, and along with English, I had to learn Spanish all the way from primary to secondary graduation. I didn't attend school in the UK. I needed some fresh air, so I went outside to the back garden, which was really dark. I could see 2 figures at the end, and I'm sure they saw me as the back door was lit. I don't think they cared, though, because they were loudly talking in Spanish. I think they assumed that no one would understand. It was Adrian and his friend, and they were talking about my friend, Adrian's girlfriend. I'm not going to repeat this, but it was nasty. I was unsure of what to do and battled with myself. But ultimately, I decided to tell my friend everything. Well, she ended up confronting Adrian, and he denied absolutely everything, and she believed him. Adrian, on the other hand, was pissed off that I hid that I spoke Spanish, which I didn't, and said I was an asshole for not saying it when we were introduced, and that it was a dick move to hide it and then spy on him. I told him he shouldn't have said those things, or at least been quiet because he doesn't know if anyone might be listening. He called me a expletive, and my friend kicked me out. She's still angry with me, and he made an online post complaining about me hiding the fact that I speak Spanish and that I had no business speaking it anyway, basically being really nasty. I don't have him on social media. My other friends sent me links and screenshots. I genuinely thought I was doing the right thing, but now I don't know. Am I the asshole? NTA, so let me get this straight. Boyfriend is angrily bitching about you speaking Spanish and denying that he said what he said, and your friend believes him over you? Your friend is pretty damn gullible. You're not the asshole. If the boyfriend didn't want anyone knowing what he said, he shouldn't have said it. Don't feel bad if you lose a friend over this. You told the truth and did nothing wrong. You don't need friends who are credulous to the point of stupidity. Boyfriend is pretty damn stupid too. There basically are no secret languages out there. Whatever language you speak, you're going to randomly run into someone in a place you don't expect who will speak it. And Spanish is one of the most widely spoken languages in the world. NTA, you're a good friend and a true girl's girl. You owe absolutely nothing to Adrian or anyone for that matter. He is not entitled to explanations or any personal information about you, including how many languages you speak. The only reason he's throwing a hissy fit is because he got caught. He's clearly a nasty, toxic manipulator, and your friend is seemingly not only oblivious to that, but also wildly ungrateful and nasty herself. Reconsider this friendship, because while you were sticking your neck out for her, she was ready to stick a knife in your back. She watched as he called you out of your name and didn't hesitate to leave you to defend yourself before harassing you online. Anyone who doesn't appreciate what you did doesn't deserve your friendship. NTA, your responsibility is to your friend. You did the right thing. You also don't need to lead a conversation with a full breakdown of the languages you speak. Adrian's full-on bridge burning should be a red flag here. It's not on you if your friend refuses to see it.